Welcome to the Wolf Sports Show. Trusted, proven analysis of all 32 teams every week during the NFL season. Hey, it's Dave Chapin. Welcome to the Wolf Sports Show. After huge wins by the Broncos and the Patriots against the Eagles and the Bills, in Week 5, there are no more undefeated teams in the NFL. Through 5 weeks, that's pretty quick and shows that this has been an interesting season with, I guess you could say, no one really separating themselves that much compared to everyone else. If there's one team that has, I'd say it's the Lions. With the tone and energy they play with, things can change, but right now, pretty unmatched what Detroit does with Dan Campbell. Just 2 teams on a bye, so we'll hit on them real quick and then go through each matchup on the Week 6 schedule. The Vikings returned from their 2-game trip to Europe, got a win on a last-minute touchdown from Carson Wentz to Jordan Addison. Addison was suspended or disciplined, whatever, didn't play the first quarter of that game for apparently missing walkthrough, and then came through with the game-winning touchdown. Wentz orchestrating that game-winning drive, hitting Jefferson on some chunk plays in the win. Sets up an interesting decision at quarterback with J.J. McCarthy looking to come back from his high ankle sprain soon, potentially after the bye. And it's the Eagles next week, so either way, whether it's McCarthy back in the lineup or Wentz playing his former team, certainly everyone keeping their eyes on that. The other team on the bye is the Texans. C.J. Stroud coming off 4 touchdowns against the Ravens. Total blowout. Now at 2-3 after an 0-3 start. So as you'd expect from a DeMeco Ryans club, they responded to the slow start. Nick Chubb looking good at running back. And Nick Caserio, the GM, mentioned Joe Mixon. They'll know in the next 3 or 4 weeks what the direction for him is going to be this season and if he can potentially play maybe in December or whatever. But the Texans now in it after winning at Baltimore emphatically. Now we'll go through each game for this week. First, Thursday Night Football, Eagles-Giants. Saquon Barkley returning to New York for the second time. Has a documentary coming out on Amazon Prime Video about sort of his career with the Giants and ultimately his decision to leave and join the Eagles. Seems clearly from what we're hearing about the doc, and it's not surprising, it's what we've essentially heard from him. Felt pretty disrespected by the Giants and that regime there. Giants couldn't build on their win against the Chargers a couple of weeks ago. Lost at New Orleans, a turnover on 5 straight possessions. No Malik Neighbors is tough. Darius Slayton out tonight, but they'll get Tyrone Tracy back at running back. But in prime time, this is a big game for that regime, I think, at 1-4. The Eagles coming off their first loss. Broncos really weren't the team to get on track against offensively, especially the passing game. But I think we could see some offensive fireworks and bigger games from A.J. Brown, and I think we could see an explosion soon from that offense, maybe tonight. On Sunday, second straight London game, third straight early morning game here in the U.S. Jets against Broncos. Denver, very encouraging to get that win at Philly. Not an easy place to win. An elite roster they beat, aside from the Chiefs and the Chargers, who they competed with last year in the division. The non-divisional most talented teams last year, like Buffalo and Baltimore, they struggled with. So to see that is a good sign. Bo Nix was great in the fourth quarter. The London games can be tricky, but they should handle the Jets. Jets now 0-5. Only team in NFL history to start 0-5 and no takeaways through 5 games. Definitely looks like it's taking time to establish the culture that Aaron Glenn wants in New York. Seahawks Jaguars. Seattle had a shootout loss against the Bucks. Sam Darnold was excellent, then an interception on a tip pass late in the game, but they've got to be encouraged by his play. Defense hopefully can get healthier. We'll see if Devin Witherspoon, Julian Love can return. Jaguars now 4-1. Beat the Chiefs in primetime a few days ago on Monday night. Devin Lloyd, he had another interception. This one a 99-yard pick 6 of Mahomes. Trevor Lawrence made that crazy stumble and touchdown run in the end. Josh Hines-Allen made plays on defense. A team that's just finding a way to win, and it should be a good matchup hosting the Seahawks, a team that's actually been better on the road under Mike McDonald than they are at home. Chargers go to Miami to face the Dolphins. LA now down rookie running back Omarion Hampton, at least 4 games on IR because of an ankle injury. So another tough loss. They started hot last week against the Commanders, 10-0 lead, and then outscored 27-0 the rest of the game. Losing Hampton hurt, but now look for a lot to be placed on Justin Herbert's arm, as it has been for most of the season. A little bit of bad luck last week with the fumble from Quentin Johnston, what looked like a clear helmet-to-helmet targeting type of hit that sort of caused the fumble. Anyway, I expect the offense to have a bigger game on the road this Sunday. Miami now 1-4. The loss to the Patriots, and last week the loss to the Panthers in particular. Probably feel like they let them get away and could be 3-2, but the record is what it is. Defense torched on the ground, then gave it the lead late. As a positive, Darren Waller at tight end looks like he's going to be a force in scoring territory. And Devon Achane, spectacular touchdown catch last week. Sort of mossed the defender. Jalen Waddle stepped up the first full game without Tyreek Hill. So something to build on offensively. Defense must be better. Speaking of defenses needing to be better, Baltimore hosts the Rams this week. The Ravens, just crazy. More points allowed already through 5 games than the 2000 Ravens, the championship team. That's almost, you don't even believe it. I didn't believe it when I saw it at first. Of course, plenty of injuries. Maybe they can get Kyle Hamilton back at least this week at safety. Lamar Jackson looks like he'll probably be out again due to the hamstring. And probably not a great matchup. The Rams angry after losing to the Niners last Thursday night. So many bye they had. Defense been stout against the run, so they'll look to contain Derrick Henry. And that Baltimore defense, I don't know if they'll have answers for Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, and those weapons Sean McVay has to work with. Cardinals, Colts, Arizona now 0-3. The Amari DiMercado dropped ball on a potential touchdown. Should have been a touchdown, but he dropped before the goal line. I'm sure you've seen Jonathan Gannon, the head coach, pretty angry over it and apologized to him and the team for that. So this is sort of a turning point potentially, facing a Indy team that's been excellent. We got to see how the Cardinals respond after that stunning loss. Would have been up 28-6 before the drop, and then had an interception that they dropped and was recovered for a touchdown by the Titans. So similar to the Bears' Hail Mary last season against the Commanders, they gave up, and then things sort of fell apart from there. You want to see the Cardinals respond positively, obviously, and it could be a turning point this stretch right here. The Colts, Jonathan Taylor, 3 touchdowns against the Raiders last week. Defense made plays. They just signed Jermaine Pratt, veteran linebacker, who rejoins defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo after they were together with the Bengals at 4-1 and looking outstanding doing it. But I'm encouraged by the dominance they showed against the Raiders last week, not just beating what's right now an inferior team, but doing it convincingly. Cowboys, Panthers, this one might be about the run game. Rico Dowdle had over 200 yards rushing in the win against the Dolphins last week. Bryce Young was clutch at the end of the game. Dowdle says Dallas needs to buckle their chin strap for this matchup as he faces his former team. And then on the Dallas side, Javonte Williams, again, been outstanding. Dak Prescott was great in a win over the Jets. Defense showed life, got after Justin Fields. Cowboys 2-1, Panthers 2-3, and under the radar intriguing matchup for week 6. Patriots, Saints, New Orleans. I mentioned the 5 straight takeaways they had against the Giants. Spencer Rattler, again, been impressive under Kellen Moore. Been sort of saying the same thing every week for them, aside from the blowout loss to the Seahawks, exceeding expectations. Rattler hit Rashid Shaheed for an 88-yard touchdown in the win over the Giants. They get to play the Patriots at home, so that's a plus. New England, their quarterback also impressing. Drake May had maybe not his most flashy game in terms of jaw-dropping throws, but the efficiency played with in the upset win at Buffalo, it's what you want to see. Stephon Diggs looks like he did during his prime with the Vikings in Buffalo, played a huge role in that upset victory. Defense strong with Christian Gonzalez at corner. Patriots at 3-2, and Mike Vrabel very quickly seems to have gotten things turned around there. Browns, Steelers, Pittsburgh had the bye week. I want to see how they play the run against Quinshon Judkins, stud rookie running back. Pittsburgh had some struggles there, but they play at home. Extra time to prepare, and Cleveland coming off tight loss in London, but Dylan Gabriel played pretty well in his first career start, took care of the ball. They have to avoid turnovers against an optimistic Steelers defense on Sunday. We'll get to the quarterback news that's Browns related, with them trading Joe Flacco to the Bengals in a little bit. Titans, Raiders. Tennessee had that comeback win at Arizona, so they're on the board. First victory of the career for Cameron Ward. Could be a weight lifted off them. Maybe they'll play more free. A chance to build on that, really, facing a Raiders team that struggled big time since winning the season opener against the Patriots. Vegas, there's a lot of talk. As mentioned, Jermaine Pratt signed with the Colts, so they released him after signing him in the offseason. I know there's been a lot of questions with the personnel decisions and the roster they've built there. It's the first year for this regime, so maybe they need time. But as mentioned last week, I believe Geno Smith has to play better. Day 2 pick for him, and this really at home, a game they sort of need if they're going to be competitive like many expected this season, and at least give teams trouble. 49ers, Bucks, great NFC matchup, both 4-1. San Fran, a little extra time after beating the Rams. Mac Jones was exceptional in the Thursday night win. The defense, the type of defense the Rams played, was sort of head-scratching. I agreed with what Kirk Herbstreit was saying. Surprised they were not being more aggressive, but give Mac Jones credit for getting the ball out, his super quick release, accuracy, again making the people who basically said he was some type of joke as a quarterback look pretty bad. Ideally, they'll get healthier. We'll see what happens with Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings if they ultimately can go for this matchup, but Kendrick Bourne stepped up, 10 catches in the win against the Rams. I'm interested to see how the San Fran defense plays this totally explosive Bucs offense. Mecca Ibuka, again, a massive game. They're super battle tested early through 5 games. That was without Bucky Irving in the lineup. Mike Evans was still out with the hamstring. Chris Godwin working his way back. I like the production we saw from Ted Johnson, their late round rookie receiver. Could have and maybe should have went much higher, but didn't because of his size. Also keeping an eye on the injuries for the Bucs. Benjamin Morrison, Jamel Dean were out last week. Bengals, Packers, Cincy, 3 straight losses. Detroit, obviously a tough team to play even at home. They did show a little more life on offense, especially late when they were down, but the turnovers for Jake Browning were too much, and they made the move to acquire Joe Flacco, and Flacco starting for his second game against the Packers. He beat them with the Browns in week 3. It's worked out before in Cleveland a couple of years ago when Flacco won the comeback player of the year in terms of just getting acclimated to an offense, making plays. I mean, he has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown in the backfield, Mike Gesicki, Noah Fant to distribute the ball to. So it could be another spot where he has some fun and makes plays and keeps the Bengals in it. Green Bay coming off their bye. They'll be challenged by Flacco and those weapons. So the defense especially looking for a bounce back after giving up 40 points to the Cowboys back in week 4. Sunday Night Football, a great one. Lions Chiefs, mentioned Detroit in the open, now 4-1. Meanwhile, the Chiefs are 2-3. Nobody really expected that. Their last game without Rashee Rice at receiver, and the offense, despite the loss, showing promising signs that they ultimately might be the best group in the AFC, especially when Rice is back. Of course, a rematch of the season opener from 2 years ago, which was an awesome game. Lions won at Arrowhead. That's where this one is again. At the end of that game, you might remember the Lions were dominating the line of scrimmage. Dave Montgomery churning out yardage. We'll see how the Chiefs defend that run game and the weapons Jared Goff has, and hopefully he has Taylor Decker at left tackle. Pushing the ball down the field was more of a challenge last week without him in the lineup, taking on Cincinnati and Trey Hendrickson coming off the edge. And then a Monday Night Football doubleheader, 7:15 and 8:15 Eastern. Bills-Falcons. Atlanta had the bye week, so extra time to prepare for this one. We'll see a heavy dose of Bijan Robinson, I'm sure, take on a Bills defense that, remember, struggled against Derrick Henry in week 1. Buffalo, hopefully they get Ed Oliver back at defensive tackle. And yeah, some injuries, but the defense, a disappointing performance against the Patriots, both sides of the ball. Of course, the turnovers, you don't see that often from the Bills. Felt like a little too much was on Josh Allen to just carry them, which has happened in big games in the past. And in the end, the roster not really coming through in those big moments, but need to see a lot more of James Cook getting the ball, play through Dalton Kincaid in the past game, and that should open things up for everyone else. But yeah, Cook felt too quiet on Sunday night. Offensive coordinator Joe Brady will probably make sure that changes in week 6. Finally, Bears Commanders. I've been looking forward to this one. Mentioned a couple of times about that Hail Mary game last year. Number 1 and number 2 picks from the 24 draft, Caleb Williams and Jane Daniels. The Ben Johnson story, didn't really want to coach in Washington with what he felt reportedly was basketball people. So yeah, plenty storyline. Chicago had the bye week, so Johnson had extra time to prepare. They seem to have bought in there at 2-2 after an 0-2 start. But Washington looked great last week. Bill Krosky-Merritt had over 100 yards on the ground. Looks explosive in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. Jaden Daniels was protecting himself, wearing a knee brace, sliding more than usual after advice from Tom Brady that he followed smartly. A good NFC matchup to conclude the week. So the schedule includes Saquon returning to face the Giants in New York, New Jersey for the second time. Another London game, Broncos-Jets, who have matched up in recent years each season. Good Sunday slate, Sunday Night Football, Lions-Chiefs, potential Super Bowl preview. Right now, I'd probably say that will be the Super Bowl. Plenty time left, though. Of course, the Chiefs 2-3, like I said, but not sure about the Bills in the AFC anymore. Ravens so beat up. Chargers injuries too. Broncos, watch them. Big, excellent Sunday night game should be. And then another Monday Night Football doubleheader. Enjoy all these games. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week. Make sure to subscribe to the channel right here on YouTube, and you can also find the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time.